Yes.
Get ready to take control of your own financial destiny. It's time to build your dream business. Welcome to the Empowered Entrepreneur.
This just got exciting.
With your host, Spider Graham. Your education starts now.
Hello and welcome to the broadcast. This is Spider Graham. And this time around, I want to talk about something that we really don't often talk about when we talk about business. And that is really our attitudes toward wealth and money. Now, of course, a lot of us are in business because this is a way we can make ends meet. Hopefully, that's not the only reason you decide to start a company or go into business for yourself, because obviously there are a lot of other rewards and there are a lot of other reasons. And sometimes there are easier ways to make money. But when we talk about money and talking about wealth and the idea of becoming wealthy, there are certain attitudes that I've found through my career that are kind of interesting to investigate. So I want to talk a little bit about that. Now, one of the challenges that I think all of us have when we think about wealth is the idea of how much am I personally worth? So if I went out and someone said, hey, I want to give you a job, and they said, okay, we'll pay you $45,000 a year to work for us. Do you say to yourself, well, that's good. I'm worth $45,000 a year. Or would you say, I couldn't possibly do a job like that for $45,000 a year. I need to make at least $150,000. Or you're going to look at that and say, wow, $45,000, my dreams have come true. So a lot of it depends on where you are in the cycle and what your expectations are. And one of the challenges, of course, with becoming wealthier is we have to kind of get past whatever limitations we put on ourselves as to what we are worth so that we can advance up the ladder, so to speak. And a lot of this stems from, in my experience, childhood and family and growing up and getting an understanding of what money meant and what it meant to my family personally. Now, in my case personally, money was not something that showed up a lot. My parents were not necessarily really good at making money or even spending it. And I grew up in a household that was really based on the idea of scarcity. Lots and lots of nothing and not ability to buy or participate and do the things that we might wanted to do. So, but the thing is you start there. And as growing up, there was an interesting aspect of that. And I refer to it as the poverty mentality. And the poverty mentality is really something in which you kind of say to yourself, I would like to be rich, but I can't be rich because rich people have money and I don't have money. Therefore, I can't be rich. And it's this circular logic that keeps a lot of people in one place because they don't ever stop to say, how do I become rich? I want to be rich. How do I do it? As opposed to, well, I can't be rich because I'm not rich. And so I find that's the case in a lot of places when we're talking about the idea of becoming wealthier if you're coming from fairly humble roots. Now, another thing that I've noticed, and this is a very interesting perspective as well, and something I think I experienced personally as a child, and I've seen it as an adult in other younger people, and that is this expectation that somehow the reason that people became wealthy is that they took money away from me. And so this whole idea that, well, he's driving a really nice car and we're driving a really horrible car, and the reason is because he took all the money and we didn't have any because he's taken it from us. And of course you understand as you grow up that this is not the case. And people make money, most people make money doing honorable things and providing value to other people. And there's also, once again, you start to talk about scarcity and what you can expect and can't expect in your life. And part of that reality is, of course, there are times when you don't have everything you want, but anybody who's willing to work for it, anybody who's willing to come up with a plan and work that plan can make that money, can get past that scarcity. But sometimes getting past the scarcity is getting past the mindset of scarcity. So one of the things I wanted to address today was, how do we do this? How do we find ourselves moving, not only advancing by creating more wealth and opportunity for ourselves, but also giving ourselves permission to do it? Now, I think one of the challenges for a lot of people is that the roots of, I won't say poverty, but attitude toward money actually stem from a lot of religious doctrine. For example, in the Bible, somewhere along the way, it says something to the effect that a rich man has the same odds of getting into heaven as a camel does getting through the eye of a needle. Now, obviously, hopefully it's a little bit better than that, and hopefully there's not this synonymous attitude that wealth is evil and people who make money are evil, because certainly we don't want to do that. The challenge, of course, is that with this attitude, this prevailing belief that somehow money is bad, that money is the root of all evil, by the way, that's not the actual quote, it's the love of money is the root of all evil. We can certainly debate that. But the challenge, of course, now is if the doctrine and the beliefs are something, and you look at yourself and you say, well, I'm humble, I'm meek, I'm not rich, I'm good, then what motivation do you have anywhere along the way to change your life so that you become something that you hate? Think about that for a moment. If wealthy people have always been kind of a bad attitude for you and you think of them in very negative terms, then why would you ever want to become one? And this is a huge problem, of course. And for a lot of people, and I won't sugarcoat it, a lot of people find a certain amount of satisfaction being able to say, well, I'm not wealthy. I may not have everything I want, but I'm a good person and I'm not evil. So it's kind of a fallback position to say I'm good because look at me, I don't have money. Now, I've been on both sides of this. I grew up very poor, very, very poor. And I've also grown to a point in my life where I have most of what I need. Okay, I'm not saying I don't want to make more, but saying I have most of what I need to stay comfortable in my life. Guess which one's better? And it's not about having so much wealth and being grandiose and just, buying stuff to show off your wealth. At least in my opinion, I don't think wealth allows us to really become who we want to be by itself. I think what it does is it buys us opportunities. In a lot of ways, it buys us freedom so that we can become or do with our time what we really want to do. And so instead of being a wage slave who has to punch a clock and work for somebody else, we find ourselves with the opportunities to make more decisions, to do more of what we want with our lives. So I believe that the opportunity to make money and the wealth associated with making money is not a bad thing. Yes, we can certainly misuse our money. We can certainly do obnoxious things with our money. But for the most part, we don't. We really just want to live a better life. And so that's why we're doing this. And that's why we have this podcast. And that's why we have these conversations on spidergram.com, because we really are doing what we can to bring each other up. Make sure that we all float together with the rising tide. So how do you deal with this? How do you approach this mentality and get rid of it? And the first part of it is just, first of all, stop hating it. Don't be a hater. No, but seriously, you find yourself in a position where you're looking at someone who has a nicer car than yours, or lives in a nicer house than you, or has, whatever. And instead of saying, I hate that guy, why don't you instead say, hey, I would like that opportunity. I would love to drive a car like that. I would love to live in a house like that. I would love to take this kind of a dream vacation. What can I do to get there? How can I make it happen? Maybe this guy can actually teach me something. Maybe if I said, hey, where'd you start from? How did your life turn out? How did you make it here? Okay? A lot of people have great stories, and you can learn from them. Instead of going and saying negative things of, look at that ostentatious car, or this guy's a jerk, whatever, lose the attitude. Okay? Not everyone with money is a saint or a good guy. Don't get me wrong. But not everyone who has money is a horrible human being either, so you have to find your way through this. Anyway, the point is that changing your attitude can really help change how you approach your own beliefs about wealth and money. And the other thing, of course, is give yourself permission to become wealthy. I know it sounds like a really odd thing to say, but if you don't give yourself permission, then you'll never be able to go there because you really detest who you are and what you do. And a lot of people have made money and felt very guilty about it. And you hear stories about lottery winners who won a lot of money and then blew through it almost as fast as they could to get down to a level where they were comfortable with how much money they had in the bank again. So if you look at your bank account and you see that you have $1,000 in the bank at any given moment, it's like, okay, that's good. That's my buffer. Well, having $100,000 in the bank is probably going to feel really weird and uncomfortable. So you have to change your mindset about that. Give yourself permission to be able to look at wealth. Also, be able to look at your current earnings potential, your earning power, and question it. And I'm not saying make yourself miserable or become, just totally neurotic about it. But if you're currently in a job, and let's say you make $45,000 a year, and you look at that and you say, am I worth $45,000 or am I worth more? Or am I worth less? Hopefully you're not worth less. But you start to get used to the idea of, okay, if I didn't have this job, and how much money would I rather make? And for most of us, there's a point where we would say, okay, I am comfortable knowing that I make X number of dollars per year. And that number is going to be personal. It's going to be different for all of us. You might say, well, I would like to have a job that allows me to make $50,000 a year. That extra money would be really helpful. Or you might say, I want to make $450,000 a year. That extra money would be really helpful too. But become comfortable with the idea of wealth. Become comfortable with the idea of being able to set your own price on what you are worth and what your time is worth. Look, Bottom line, philosophically, is this is the time we have. If we don't use it, we don't get it back. So we take advantage of the time we have right now, and we use it to the best of our ability. And it hopefully allows us to live a good life. Now, I'm not saying you have to make a lot of money to live a good life. Not at all. But I'm saying you want to be comfortable. And if making money gives you an opportunity to live a better life because you can buy opportunities and freedom and choice, then that's where you want to go. So give yourself a sense of how much you're worth, how much you would like to have, how much you would like to be worth. And at the end of the day, see where it takes you. Anyway, that's all I have for you this week. Thanks so much for your time and attention. As always, please feel free to join us at spidergram.com. We have a conversation that's going there all the time about these kinds of things that are going to face entrepreneurs and business people and people trying to get ahead in their lives. Once again, thanks so much for your time. This is Spider. I'll see you soon.
For more free resources and advice for entrepreneurs, visit spidergram.com and become a subscriber today.